What if the ancient gods of your culture not only existed, but in order for you to remain free, to become free and remain free forever, you had to fix these ancient gods by getting to know them in a very heated, personal way? Hi everyone, I'm Rainbow Heart's Villain Thoughts, a cozy book nerd who loves a good gay romance in almost any genre. Now, before I go any further today, I want to let you know this review will be a bit different from my older reviews. There will be two parts to this one, a non-spoiler part and a spoiler part, both of which are marked in the video and in the description down below. This first part being the non-spoiler, but when we get to the spoiler part, it will show in the video and description down below, so there is no confusion. Also, I'll be changing how I review the book today, so I hope you will enjoy it. Now, today's book is a heated gay adult novel written by author Amanda Muizin. If her name sounds familiar on this channel, then it's because I've reviewed 3 of her books already. Last Courtesan of Olympus, the follow-up book to that, which is a standalone, and Zell, a dark, grim, gay romance retelling of the classic Grimm fairy tale Rapunzel. Now, Last Courtesan of Olympus is a part of a 3-book series. The second book is today's book that I'll be reviewing. Last Thrall of Asgard is the second book in the Lover of the Gods series. This book takes us into the old Nordic era, a time when Vikings existed and roamed the world. This is a time, however, after the Norse gods is popularity amongst the Nordic people. This is where we meet Ollie, a young thrall. Ollie has 2 options: stay a thrall forever, or agree to help Loki, the god of mischief and lies, and fixing the now incomplete Norse gods who became incomplete after the events of Ragnarok. Now, this is a pretty heated book, so I'm going to ask if you are under the age of 18 for you to go ahead and click off this video. Now, if this also is something you're not comfortable with as someone who is over 18, I also recommend you click off the video and instead check out my young adult book review playlist where I have reviewed some young adult books, both gay romance and non-gay romance, that are villain backstory as well as gay romance, that are fitting for all ages. So please check that out if this type of book is not your thing due to the heated amount of the book. That being said, let's get into the content warning. Now, real quick, this book has a lot of content warnings. Each chapter has its own content warning, and I can't get into the specifics of the content warnings because YouTube would never allow it. But what I can say is this book has a lot of swearing and severely detailed heated scenes between adult men. Now, if you want a full content warning of this book, I recommend you look it up online, as the book summary itself on Amazon and other sites does not give the full content warning. I do recommend reading that fully before you dedicate yourself to reading this book, just in case. Now you can skip certain chapters, but it's not recommended because it might cause you to not understand the ending. Um, but yeah, just so you know, there is that. Next is the heat level, and let me tell you, this is one heated book. I'm giving it a 5 out of 5 heat level. meaning this book has a lot of heat in it, and it's the primary or basically main focus of the book. Again, if that is not your thing, or you are under the age of 18, I ask that you click off this video and instead check out my young adult book reviews instead. That being said, we will finally get into the review itself, starting with my personal reading experience. First and foremost, I want to talk about how this book made me feel as a reader. Honestly, I was pretty excited reading this book, wondering what was going to come next. The plot was so good. And honestly, the more heated scenes, while not really my thing, weren't boring or a total snooze fest either. They were actually pretty interesting, and I would dare say somehow a far cry from the first book of the series. Now, it also had me feeling absolutely terrible for poor Ollie, but I can't get into that without busting out the spoiler part. So, just so you know, this book had me feeling two different things. Now, as for the initial expectation versus reality, when I first bought this book, I honestly thought I was going to hate it. I did not like the first book of this series. I did not like the follow up book to that one. And to be honest, I bought this before I read Zell, which is another book by Miss Amanda Musin. And I loved Zell, so I thought maybe I should give this book a try. And after reading it, I really enjoyed it. The plot was so good, as I've already said. It was absolutely there, and it felt like it actually belonged in the story compared to Last Corazon of Olympus, where the plot didn't really feel like it belonged, and if you took out the plot, the book would have been the same. As for this, I feel the book would not be the same without the plot. So my expectations were low, but in reality, they were really good. Now, vibe and atmosphere, meaning the mood of this book. This book definitely is a heated book. The atmosphere is very heated. However, it also touches on anger. There are a lot of parts where the main character Ollie is angry and upset. Um, there are a lot of intense moments in this book, and there's a bit of hope. Now, I loved every part of this book, minus the last part before the ending, not gonna lie. But honestly, everything made sense. The anger felt earned from Ollie. The heated, intense moments felt like they actually fit the story and even the myths the story was connected to. I absolutely loved that part. And the hope that Ollie kept having throughout his journey in this book was honestly commendable because I think most people would have completely collapsed in the face of this challenge, especially when the one giving it was none other than the Prince of Mischief himself, none other than Loki. Now let's get into characters. Now, first off, did I find Ollie relatable? The answer is kind of. I mean, I understand how Ollie feels about having things planned out for him because I think all of us, in a way, possibly not everyone, but a good bit of us feel like that one way or another. We kind of feel like from the moment we're born to the moment we pass away, our lives are predetermined or set in stone. Now, a lot of people don't feel like that, and that's completely fine. But Ollie kind of feels like he has no choice in the matter, no say in what happens. and it's crushing to him. Now, Ollie's is more of a this is a true fact because he's a thrall, which is basically a I can't say the word. It starts with an S and ends with an E. I can't say the word because it is triggering to some people, but it's basically a indentured servant. Um, I will say that. Yeah, I think I can say that word. Um, Meaning he has no choice, no say in the matter, nothing. Ollie truly has no free will, and when he's given this opportunity to defy his life, what is set in stone, he takes it. And I feel a lot of us that feel like Ollie would definitely take it. However, again, I think most of us are not stuck in the same situation that Ollie is. Therefore, I don't think anyone really, for that matter, nowadays is, especially in America, because that kind of thing is, thank the Lord, illegal to have. Um, but yeah, Ollie is kind of pretty relatable. Now, is Ollie well developed? And does he develop in the story? I do think Ollie develops in the story. I think he changes as time goes on because as he fixes each Norse god, they kind of teach him something or fix a little bit of what's broken in him as well. Again, massive difference from the first book. Um, I really enjoyed how Ollie's story went, and honestly, I do think he was well developed by the end of the story. At the beginning of the story, no, Ollie was not well developed, which I think is a good bit of characters to begin with, because we don't know them, so they can't be really developed to us. So, yes and no. Beginning not well developed, by the end of the book, well developed, well rounded. I do think, however, Amanda Muizin did a fantastic job of creating Ollie. They really created this character who we knew his backstory, we knew his life at that point, which I think may be well developed, but we didn't know his future. We didn't know his story completely because obviously the book starts at a certain point in his story. Now, as for compelling, was Ollie a compelling character? I think so. I was really compelled by how Ollie behaves and acts. I wanted to know more about Ollie. I wanted to know how his story ended. I wanted it to end on a good note, on a note of freedom and finding something that he never had to begin with. Now that I've talked about Ollie, however, let's talk about Loki. So, did I find Loki relatable? Surprisingly, yes. And I think some people will also find the God of Mischief relatable. Now, Loki in this book is someone who faces a lot of regret of his actions. Which I think a lot of us can kind of relate to. Loki, is this character that does a lot of bad things, but he regrets them afterwards. And I think a lot of people, we act without thinking. We're especially driven by emotion sometimes. And this is not an excuse. I want to make that clear. It's not an excuse for bad behavior or breaking the law or anything like that. Uh, but when we do certain things in the heat of the moment that are not breaking the law or hurting people to a horrible extent, we do it out of passion or out of a need to be funny or something like that. and we don't think of the consequences until afterwards, and that is Loki in a nutshell. So I do think he is relatable in that aspect of regret for what he's done. I think a lot of us can feel a deep regret and that we can't truly earn forgiveness no matter what we do, which is how Loki feels. Is Loki well developed? Ha ha ha. Um, that is a good question. I feel like Loki is well developed, but only because I knew who Loki was before this book. I, when I was younger, read a Norse mythology book, so I know who Loki is. But honestly, I feel like if you're coming into this book not knowing Norse mythology or expecting the Marvel Cinematic or Comic Book Universe's version of Loki, you're going to be very confused. Uh, so, but this book does have moments where it explains the myths, including Loki's myth, to explain certain aspects about him. So I do like that. So I will say he's well developed. I will say that. But only after the book progresses. At the beginning, he's not well rounded. And uh, unless you read the book fully or you know Loki's story ahead of time, you're not going to think he's a well rounded character. Which probably goes without saying. Was Loki compelling? Eh, to me, not really. I wasn't really interested in Loki or what he was going to do next because I kind of already saw what was going to happen. It was kind of a predictable moment with Loki. I knew how this was going to end the moment Ollie insinuated it and started showing certain aspects towards Loki. I already knew how Loki's story was going to end. Excuse me. So, no, Loki wasn't really compelling. There was not really that much beef to Loki's story. I didn't really care for Loki as a character. So yeah, not really compelling whatsoever to me. Now, for the writing style and pacing. The writing style I feel was fairly simple. It wasn't anything complex. It wasn't anything poetic or dumbed down or anything like that. It was fairly simple. I think you can go into this book reading it without any kind of difficulty with the writing style. It's very, anyone can read this, no matter their background or their level of comprehension or stuff like that. As for pace, the pacing was see, it took me a while to finish this book because I was reading another book at the time, but I feel like the pacing was fast. Despite that, this book, if you read it in one setting, you could easily read it in a day if you wanted to. It's not that long, and the pacing again is very fast. If you heard a snapping there, it was fast, so you know. Now the world building. So when it comes to the world building, oh my gosh, I totally skipped. I'm sorry, I skipped pacing. Sorry, guys. Ladies, gentlemen, non-binary folk. Sorry about that. So world building. I feel like the world wasn't very detailed. Like there was details. No, it was detailed. Sorry, let me rephrase that. It was detailed, but it was flat, if that makes sense. There was no real interaction with the environment, but one chapter. One chapter the environment kind of interacted with the story. But for the rest of it, it felt like the environment was background noise. It was honestly pretty easy to imagine a void with the characters in it. For me, at least, it didn't feel like the background made a difference. So, but there's 2 points, 2 times where the background's kind of there and has a driving force for the narrative and story. But for the most part, it's kind of flat, not really present. It is detailed. I will say this: Amanda Mewison did a fantastic job of detail, but it felt flat within the story itself, which was a letdown. Themes. So, what is the deeper message, the theme of this book? I think the theme of this book is the way you're born does not define you, but in order to accept this, you can't dwell on the past alone. We see this with several of the Norse gods. We see this with Ollie, we see this with Loki. You can acknowledge your past because it builds you, but you can't stay stagnant. You can't stay in the past and not allow yourself to move forward. You have to acknowledge what's going on. You have to learn from it and be better than what you were. Make new memories, make a new future moving forward. You can't just remain like stone and expect life to change. So, with that being said, let's get to the strengths and weaknesses of this book. I think the major strength was the plot, which was missing again in the first book and its follow up book. I was pleasantly surprised, and I really loved this book because of it. Weakness, I think, could be both a strength and weakness is the different content warnings before each chapter. I feel like certain things are definitely not for certain people, and they will be inclined definitely to skip that chapter. And because of that, the rest of the book won't really fit or make a lot of sense. But obviously, you pick up a book to enjoy the book, not to feel uncomfortable. So that's a strength and weakness of this book, most definitely. Now, for something I haven't done before, which a lot of this has been stuff I haven't done before, target audience. So, if you love Norse mythology and you love gay romance and you love heated gay romance, especially, I have to point that out there, I think this book's intended for you. If you somehow, which is not a bad thing, I didn't like it, but it's very popular. If you enjoyed the first book, Last Courtesan of Olympus, you're going to definitely enjoy this book. I didn't enjoy the first book, but I still loved it. If you are looking for a book that connects to mythology in a heated adult gay way, that each chapter is different in and of itself. It's not a stagnant kind of story when it comes to the heated themes. Then I feel like you're going to enjoy this book. You're the targeted audience, definitely. Now if you're more of a classic story reader or more of a Puritan, I guess you could say the word, this book isn't intended for you. You are not the targeted audience. If you don't like gay or homosexual types of content, this book is not targeted at you at all. I promise you, you will have a very bad time reading this book. Just saying, you are not the target audience. Now, with target audience aside, the question is, would I personally recommend this book? And honestly, I would recommend this book on with the acknowledgement that you understand you're reading a heated book for adults and you are an adult. I would recommend this book in that situation because it's an excellent book. I cannot stress this enough. The plot was plotting. And that may sound. It sounds like the plot was really rich and awesome, and it probably isn't. But again, compared to the first book, I was blown away with the plot of this one. Okay, I definitely recommend this book. It was a really good read. I enjoyed it. It took me a while, but I still enjoyed the book. And yeah, I mean, if you've got the money to get it digitally, it's cheaper digitally. Or if you want to order a physical copy, I think it's worth the money. I think it's worth the money. I think it's worth the time and effort to read the book. I would recommend it. I would definitely recommend this book. Or if you can get it from your local library, of course, or borrow it from a friend, I would recommend it. It's a good book. So now, what is my rating of this book? I would give this book 4 stars. Solid 4. I wouldn't give it a 4.5 or a 5 because the book just didn't seem like a masterpiece to me, but it was good. It was very good. I enjoyed the book. It was interesting to say the least. And honestly, it was really good. I 4 stars, flat out 4 stars. I recommend again if you have time, if you know someone who has a copy or you can afford it, get a copy. It's really good. Uh yeah. All right. Now, with that being said, this here, now wait till I finish fully, is the end of the spoiler-free section. The next section will be a spoiler part. So if you have read the book, or if you just want to get all the tea, then you can go ahead and watch the next part. If not, I recommend you stop the video here after you like, comment, and subscribe. Please make sure to like the video if you enjoyed it. It really helps with morale of the channel, and it helps YouTube say, hey, this person likes his content, so let's push it out to more people like that person. Comment down below if you intend to read this book, if it's a pickup, or if it's a put down, I'm not going to read this book, or I started to and I just couldn't finish it. Also, make sure to follow the channel if you want more book reviews on gay romance, and when I'm able to, some villain backstories / retellings, which the channel is also made for, but I'm having difficulty finding books like that. And if you do subscribe, make sure to turn on the notification button to all, not just not conditioned, I forget the word, but personalized. Don't have it set to personalized because it won't give you notifications really, in my experience at least. So yeah, make sure to set it to all notifications. That being said, if you're not watching the spoiler part, thank you so much for watching this, and I'll see you in the next video. And with that being said, spoilers ahead! Hello, ladies, gentlemen, and non-binary pals. If you skipped ahead to this part, or if you just finished the last part, hello, I am Rainbow Hearts Villain Thoughts, and I decided to read Last Thrall of Asgard. Now, in case you weren't paying attention, I want to make it very clear. The next part of this video, this part and forwards, is spoilers. I will be discussing the book with spoilers. Truthful, uncensored spoiler parts. If you clicked this part by accident or weren't paying attention and got to this part, I would recommend starting the video back over if you don't want to watch spoilers or if you haven't seen the video yet. So, yeah, please do that. Now, if you are here for the tea, you haven't read the book yet, but you want to know more about the book, or if you've read the book before and you want to hear my honest opinion on it, then welcome. So first off, I want to start off with the plot of this book. I think Amanda Newison ate with that plot. Having Ollie as a thrall, being taken randomly by a Norse god, after he and his quote unquote companion, I can't say the actual word, you know, after he basically disrespected a shrine to an altar to the Norse gods, is taken before a Norse god, and his first thought is, oh crap, I'm done, I am over. I loved it. I honestly loved it. It was such a cool thing. I think that that was the part that really got me, that had me thinking, oh my gosh, this book is already going to be good. I can already tell. It was, however, reminiscent of Last Courtesan of Olympus, where that happens with the main character in that book. He kind of mocks the Greek gods, and then boom, he's before the Greek gods, the king of the Greek gods, and he's like, oh, I'm dead. I am out of this world. So I still enjoyed that part though. And I love how Ollie did not trust Loki. I love how Amanda Mewison did not write Loki out as this trustworthyable character at all. They stayed true to Loki's nature in mythology, and, Ollie, who didn't believe in the Norse gods, still knows their myths through storytelling, and is like, yeah, I don't trust you. I need this on paper. I need you to write down everything you're saying, have it notarized, have it blessed, have it put on stone. Like, I need to know you're telling the truth. And Loki's just like, trust me. And Ollie's like, I have no choice, I guess. Like, I loved that part so much. The Norse gods selection. Now, Norse mythology is a very interesting mythology because there are so many Norse gods. So many. I think there's so many that some of them don't even have things that are over. They're just kind of gods because they're children of gods. It's kind of, crazy. Uh, but the selection was interesting to me. It was very, very interesting. I thought Amanda did a fantastic job of choosing these gods and bringing them to life. One god in particular really caught me off guard. Mimir? 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 I don't know how to say his name. Uh, I did not expect him. I did not expect him. And honestly, my first thought was the same as Ollie, like, he's a head. He's a head. What is he supposed to do with a head? Like, is he supposed to give him a body? Or, like, how's that gonna work? And then he comes out from behind the well, like, aha, I have a body again. Always like, oh, thank the gods. I thought that was hilarious and funny. And I love how he destroys the well so no one can drink from it again, because knowledge is power, but it also can be corrupting. And that's what happened to him. He was corrupted by that power and knowledge, so he stopped Ollie or anyone else from ever falling victim to it again. So I I was caught off guard by Thor. The first time, oh yeah, it's Thor, you know. But then Lady Thor, what? That part really caught me. It really grabbed a hold of me and would not let go. I was like, what? Well, I don't even want to imagine that, much less see it. Ollie's just like, whatever. Like, I would be terrified of Thor in a wedding dress. Oh, that would be truly terrifying. Truly terrifying. Um, and then Odin. Like, I love how in the end we still don't really know if the noise around Odin and Ollie really were the wild beasts, or if it was just Odin's magic, because Odin did possess magic. So was it simply him doing that in order to test Ollie, or were the wild beasts circling them? Like, that is a question I don't think was answered in the book and probably never will be, which adds more to the curiosity. I mean, it could go either way with Odin involved, honestly. The ending, the ending was really good too, I think. Having Loki disguising himself and taking Ollie as his thrall, and then, you know, having him as an equal, I felt was really cool. And then Ollie having to reprimand Loki every time he wants to use magic to make things easier, and Ollie's just like, no, you're living like a human now. You're a mortal man. um, I also love how they fully explain that eventually Ollie and Loki will return to Asgard. I felt like if Loki didn't return to Asgard after everything he did with Ollie, I would have been very upset, because the whole point was for him to earn the forgiveness of his family, and they did. So it would have been very weird if he didn't go back to Asgard and take Ollie with him at that point. But I I love how it's explained that if they do go to Asgard, it's a one-way trip. It's a one-way trip, like, that's it, because the Rainbow Bridge is too unstable and they won't be able to return. I also love how the Rainbow Bridge was connected. I don't know if it was ever explicitly said, but it sounds like the Rainbow Bridge was connected to the faith the Nordic people had with the Norse gods. And when they stopped believing, the bridge kind of started to disappear. And I also love how the Norse gods could probably travel to Earth, or at least Loki could, and be like, hey, we're real, we exist. But instead of doing that, they kind of accepted the fact that this was their fate. They were going to fade into obscurity. They were no longer going to be worshipped. I love that. I honestly love that. I will say Asgard felt a little empty. We only really see Asgard like for one chapter, and it's really mainly Odin's Hall. But it did feel kind of empty. It felt kind of empty. It made sense though when Odin pointed out why his hall in particular was empty of warriors. You know, Ragnarok's happened, the final battles happened. Why keep warriors when there is no battle for the warriors to fight in? They've all gone to Helheim. They've all gone elsewhere to enjoy eternity peacefully. And can we talk about Helheim? I I remember reading the Norse mythology book when I was younger, and it talking about Helheim. And I remember playing the God of War Ragnarok game. And Helheim is a terrifying place, but Amanda Mewison made it this place that was kind of like peace. It wasn't terrible, it wasn't vile. It was genuinely peaceful, and the fact that most of the warriors in Odin's Hall would leave and go to Helheim for a rest and to enjoy eternity peacefully, that was shocking. I really loved it. Uh all in all, I felt this book was a lot better than the other book previously done by Amanda. And this book definitely belongs up there with Zell, I think. And I'm kind of teetering on the edge on whether or not to read The Last Sky Dancer of Egypt. Um, because it's the third and final installment of this series, and I don't want it to leave a foul taste in my mouth if it's not good. But if it is good, I want to read it. I want to read it anyway because it is the end of the series, but like I just don't know. And there there is some stuff already warned about by Amanda and the description on Amazon that kind of insinuates, hey, there's some stuff in this book, and I'm just like, I don't know how I feel about that. Oh, just saying. Um, but yeah, that's just me though. Um, but let me know in the comments down below if y'all want me to read and review Last Sky Dancer of Egypt, as I would love to know. Also, put a spoiler in front of the comment. Spoiler warning, so people know not to read it. But how did you feel about this book? Did you like this book, or was this book kind of a letdown for you? Did you think it was better or on the same page as Last Corazon of Olympus? I am curious. I am honestly curious to know. But yeah, that being said, I think that's going to be it for this review. And let me know if the spoiler part was good, or if you want it more structured, more scripted. I don't know what you guys would prefer. Or if you want it like this, more of a free talk kind of situation. Let me know in the comments down below what you prefer, and I'll make sure to try and do it next time. Uh, so yeah, thank you for watching. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.